I think that's,
Yep, you're on the screen.
Excellent. So yeah, today, really lovely. I've been welcomed up here by Thoughtworks, and James invited up to talk about the book and to share a few stories about how it came about and how we've kind of adapted Agile. This is where I'm from, Cornwall. A very kind of nice picturesque picture, but I love this picture because Cornwall is actually really steeped in engineering history. We were heading the way in terms of railway engineering. We've got the largest open mine in the world for mining clay. Marine engineering, we've always been kind of leaders in that, and to me, software engineering and digital engineering is the next kind of opportunity for Cornwall. So I'd like to see the youngsters in Cornwall actually, they've got that engineering in their genes, so I want to make use of that and take that further. So, and obviously this is quite a postcardy picture, so I thought I'd say this is actually where I live. So this is St Austell. Most people know it for its brewery, above the fact that Eden Project is there as well, which is a big tourist destination. And this was the view from my local launch. So when we launched a couple of weeks ago in Cornwall, this is lovely. My house is kind of here, so just that shot. But again, I grew up in Cornwall. I got a degree in computer science, so I did 3 years kind of tech. But actually, after my second year, and we started getting into, so there's a few coders, developers in the room I know, but after the kind of second year, we got into, so I was doing Pascal and assembly language and stuff like that, and I was okay with that, and then object-oriented hit me, and it went straight over my head, to be honest, so I did computer law instead. And so I kind of took that kind of business marketing angle then. So I have got a bit of a tech background, and really I wanted to get a degree that I could take home to Cornwall and do good in Cornwall with. So I thought, computing, that's going to be the thing. This is kind of millennium time. So I came back to Cornwall and I worked as an advisor helping businesses to build online businesses, so to help quite small kind of cottage industries in Cornwall turn into kind of global brands really, and be able to sell online, and kind of some of the businesses that we're working with are huge now, different brands, and pasties, obviously everybody knows about Cornish pasties, so, but yeah, it was really about kind of building, trying to come back and help Cornwall. And really, so that was kind of 15 years ago now, and about 5 years ago, as James said, we kicked off Agile on the Beach, the first Agile on the Beach, which was a small conference, a very minimum viable conference that brought experts into Cornwall to teach us about Agile and Lean. And James's talk was about Lean Lego. And if any of you haven't seen his Millennium Falcon Lean Lego presentation, I'd say look it up because it's brilliant. But I kind of just coined it and kind of thought I'd go with a bit of a Star Wars kind of thing. But James was a real inspiration actually. He was one of the first people that I saw speak that really inspired me to think more about Agile and to think more about how we can adopt that and take that further in Cornwall. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted. I've got to shut my eyes a bit. So James was brilliant in terms of kind of helping me to do that. And then the other person to thank is Alan, and the paper aeroplane represents Alan because the introduction to Agile workshop, so Alan came down along with other experts like John Jagger and Kevlin and different people that came down to the county independently and ran workshops to help software businesses to adopt Agile. And one of the games that Alan played with us was you have to build a paper aeroplane. He didn't tell us it actually had to fly.
It did, it was in writing.
Well, it kind of, but we were all under time pressure. So what happened is everybody just kind of threw together paper aeroplanes which all failed the test, which really kind of just taught us a lesson about value and quality over just throwing something out the door. So just a thanks to Alan as well there. And that really kind of took off, that we had a real kind of hub of businesses that were adopting Agile and working together to become better, to work collaboratively. And that over the last kind of 5 years has led to a really great community in Cornwall that is a lot of, say, there's quite a few faces in here. We've got James and me in the middle. Oh, my dog doesn't work. But last year, so the conference started as about 60 people in 2011. This year we've got 320 something scheduled in now, and we're going up to 350, and it's self-sustaining. So it's not dependent on funding anymore, and that I think is credit to taking an Agile approach and building a conference that's actually self-sustaining rather than dependent on EU funds or different things like that. So it's really exciting, and that's kind of moving forward. But what happened, so kind of getting back to the book, if you like, so that's the kind of that background of where Agile started in Cornwall. Getting back to the kind of idea behind the book was that what happened was quite kind of early on. I got much more involved in the project in Agile, and I kind of said, well, actually this is kind of applicable to any business. So any business would like to be more agile, and actually we're all operating in fast changing environments now. We're all operating under extreme uncertainty, and these are all things that we would like to solve as businesses. So if you take like scope creep, to me scope creep is a really positive thing because it means we're growing and developing. So it's not necessarily a negative, it's actually a positive for taking things further. But businesses starting projects, not finishing them, communication, collaboration, these aren't just things that happen to software development teams, these happen to any business. So we kind of set about a project to see if we could take Agile beyond software. And this was the resulting kind of model of that project. So after working 2 years, this is what we came up. It started as a pizza, it then turned into a wheel, and now it's a clockwork. So we kind of took the Agile approach. So we actually kind of took an Agile approach with the project. We didn't try and do everything at once. We started off with kind of project management in the middle. We started off with Kanban boards as well. So we started off with printing planners for startups that they could use to map out their ideas and their tasks, and that worked really well. So we took that kind of minimum viable product approach. And then once we kind of nailed that, we started to build in these kind of extra things around the outside where we were looking at Agile marketing and Agile business models and road mapping and looking at the kind of collaborative side of things like the software Cornwall spin-outs and working with different businesses. And it worked incredibly well. It went really well. It just surprised everybody, I think, how successful, or successful I think isn't necessarily the right word, but how well received it was and how people really liked it, and they kind of really caught on to this idea of being agile. And the kind of core of what we started with was the Agile Manifesto, which, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Agile, this is kind of the values that sit behind the methodology that say, while these things are important, so while it's important for us to have a plan, and we need to have a plan and a budget and comprehensive documentation, processes and tools, actually those things should be driven by people and solutions and collaboration, customers and change, not by, to me, the processes and tools are there to help the people, not control the people. So it's about really kind of, and the one thing I've changed and that I put in bold is solutions, because it does say working software over comprehensive documentation. I changed that to solutions, and to my relief, I did find out that actually one of the founding people that put the manifesto together, one of his feedbacks was if he was going to change anything, he'd change it from software to solutions. So I got away with that one. And we've kind of added a couple of more to the mix as well. So the other one that we've added is collaboration over competition. So So working in Cornwall, we're working with a lot of different software businesses, and really we needed to work collaboratively together rather than competing, rather than fighting over hotels on the north coast of Cornwall. Let's collaborate and win business globally. That was the kind of idea behind it, to get them out of that mindset of thinking too small, but think big, act small. So the kind of journey that we took with that, so this was the first thing that we got people to recognise. What we think is going to happen, which is kind of, I'm going to start this project, it's not going to go beautifully well, exactly how I planned, and that's where I'll get. Whereas this is reality. Whatever you do in life, this is reality. Whether you're trying to fix something at home, whether you're trying to write some software, whether you're trying to grow a business, whatever it might be, that's what actually happens. And that, going back to the manifesto, is where we're saying, okay, it's okay to have a plan, but recognise that plan is only your best guess. And actually, you need to respond to change as you go. So, the kind of key, I think, behind the Agile method is actually the mindset and the philosophy that sits behind it. Once you've got that, really, then the rest are just tools to help you to implement that and make that happen. The other thing, are you all familiar with the technology adoption life cycle or the product adoption life cycle? I'm not all. So this is something that was developed that represented how technology products evolve and mature. So generally, you have your early adopters and your innovators will be the first people. So if you take, I usually use the iPhone as an example, but the Apple Watch is actually a really good example of that at the moment, where actually the Apple Watch probably isn't that functional. It's got some use to it, but actually the reason people are buying it is because it's an Apple Watch and they want to play with the new technology, and they don't mind if it doesn't quite work properly, they just want to play with it and they just want to have one. And then you've got your kind of early majority, late majority, and the laggards, kind of people that will probably never sign up to your product, or they'll get dragged along in the end. And what we did was we just kind of used this to represent, because again, it's not an A to B journey. This is a life cycle, and everything in this world has a life cycle. And it's not a straight line, unfortunately. We don't carry on forever. And we do need to bring out the next new products or services or ideas to keep our businesses going and to keep the momentum going. Otherwise, if you take something like the iPhone, they have to bring out the next version in order to keep that fresh and to keep that market going. So, with those things in mind, what we were looking at is this kind of method, and so kind of similar to, it's kind of drawn on a couple of different things. So you've got Eric Ries's Build, Measure, Learn. Also from a coaching perspective, I've got a coaching background. Actually, this is kind of experiential learning, reflective learning. It comes under a lot of titles, and so we've got this kind of cycle of, and I kind of say we start with learning first, because first of all we've got to work out what we're going to do before we act. So act's not first, learn's first. And actually I tend to say listen quite a lot now. So it's actually listen and learn, test it and act, and then reflect and get that feedback to go through. So you're making lots of small incremental improvements. You're starting with something small and then building it up, rather again than trying to do it all at once. And I liken this to eating cake. So Alan's face has just gone, oh no. But there you go, pass the cake round. But if you think, the reason I choose the rainbow cake, so if you take so this is like your project goal and your scope and your design and your testing and your build and your release and your feedback. And rather than try and eat that cake whole, eat a slice first. So the idea is do a little bit, take a little bit of your goal and take a little bit of the design and test that and try that and get feedback on it, and then look at what the next slice of the cake is that you can eat. And that kind of analogy worked quite well with my SMEs, in that they were like, yeah, actually I get that. So Dan's nodding, this is good. So it was kind of a nice analogy that again just kind of simplifies, because really, Agile is a tech tool, tech method, tech philosophy, and there's quite a lot of tech language in there. So trying to really translate it for people and get it into language and examples that people can get, whether they've looked at a computer before or not, really. So you'll like this next one, Dan. One of the things that, again, was just to try and reinforce this kind of eating things a slice at a time, was actually we need to identify where the value is, and we need to validate that, and we need to take this test-driven approach. And if we take Henry Ford, and I'm also horsey, so every presentation I've got has to have a horse in it somewhere. So if you take Henry Ford, so if I go back to the life cycle slide, what do you think of when you think of Henry Ford? What's a car?
Model T.
Model T, yeah. So, but where on that life cycle is the Model T? It's mass market, isn't it? His Model T was his mass market product. But that's not where he started, and I think that's where a lot of startups have problems, because they see existing businesses and they think, yeah, I'm just going to do that. And one of my hardest jobs is when I meet new startups and I ask them and I say, who are you going to sell your product to? Everywhere. And where's going to stock your product? Everywhere. And I have to be that horrible person that goes, not today. It's a great vision, but you're there. Your head is there, and we need to bring you back here so you can start on that journey to your everywhere, everything, every, world domination and all that. So if you think about the Model T, that's there, and actually it's just a nice trigger point to just go, actually we need to just test our assumptions, we need to test what we're, taking as read, and is it? Because actually this was Henry Ford's first car, and it wasn't the mass market that bought it, it was the early adopters and the innovators, it was people with lots of cash and wanted to have the innovative thing, and it didn't matter that it didn't go as fast as a horse. Because of course the quote is, if you'd asked Henry Ford what his customers wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And actually that's where the kind of behaviour-driven development comes in, because actually sometimes what your customers tell you isn't actually what they mean, because they don't know what they don't know. So until you start bringing in these kind of disruptive innovations, actually you can't just go on what the market's telling you. You have to go on how the market's responding to what you're putting out there. And I love this because it was like the horse and the car, and actually this is a story of one of the American states didn't allow motor vehicles. So this guy was like a delivery man, a mailman. So what he used to do was attach his horse to pull it out of the state, then he'd go drive around do all his deliveries, and then hitch the horse back up to take it back into the state afterwards, because he wasn't allowed to run the engine within the state boundaries, which is kind of weird. So you see this kind of, horse and car and horse, and then car. So again, it's that kind of evolving and that kind of behaviour that actually, to me that's great, because it kind of represents how the kind of people overturned what the government, I guess, of that day was saying, no, motor vehicles. So really kind of interesting when you kind of start thinking about that and start adapting it back to your own businesses and your own work. And how many assumptions do you make, and how often do you listen to what people are telling you through their behaviour rather than what they just go, I want one of these, when actually that might not be what they want at all. So, I wanted to share a couple of the stories and some of the strongest things I think that we've taken out of Agile and given to other businesses and how they've used them. So one of the most powerful things, and like I said, one of the things that we started with was actually getting the writing on the wall. So this kind of idea of visualising your work and getting it out of your head so that other people can see it and other people can share it and understand it. And Sophie was one of my first clients who I was already working with coaching as a startup, and we were kind of talking, and she was like, it's just all getting too much, I've just got so much going on, I'm constantly writing lists, I'm just constantly organising myself. rather than actually getting on and making these beautiful flamboyant hair accessories that she makes. And so there was this kind of moment where I was going, I know, let's try this. So she had a whiteboard and put the board up. And she found it really powerful in terms of getting the stuff out of her head, being able to park things. So because she's very creative, she's a bit like me. I kind of say I'm quite a squirrel pet. I'm like, ooh, shiny thing, and I'm distracted. So it allowed her to park her distractions, focus on what she needed to do, like her tax and things like that she really wasn't that keen on doing, but helped her to balance that out. And she's still using that. And when Gareth joined her business and he started doing production, he said it was really easy because I already knew what was in Sophie's head because it's on the board, and I know what needs to be done because it's on the board, so I can just get on and do it. I don't have to always go back to her and be asking her what to do. I can just get on with it. So it was really lovely to have that kind of test. And again, it's that kind of agile approach of actually testing things out and seeing what worked. And we got really good results. And again, that's kind of evolved. And the businesses have evolved their own boards as well. But this is a bit of a template. So again, for the software developers in the room, you'll kind of find this familiar. But we've added like an inbox, because what we found is you get kind of, directors who are wonderful, but they walk into the office and they go, guys, I have this great idea, drop everything. And it's just so disruptive, and so it just interrupts the business, it causes chaos, it really annoys people. So we kind of have this inbox. So, okay, you had a really good idea last night, put it in the inbox and we'll talk about it at the next meeting, we'll pick that up, it's not lost, it's there. And the done box as well, which is really great. One, for just celebrating the fact that we've done stuff rather than just kind of it being lost. But also for things like handovers. So a few businesses, it's kind of gone viral, so it's in each department. So what happens is it kind of finishes on one board, goes into the inbox of the next board, through the next board, into the done, that gets handed over to the next board. So you end up with this kind of breakdown as well of the silos in the organisation. So one of the businesses that I work with are great. They're a toy manufacturer, so you can imagine how graphical they've got with their projects. And they have got literally, so it's kind of R&D board, goes on to design board, goes on to production, goes on to testing, goes on to release, and actually at the end of their kind of stream that goes through the office, so each toy's got a card, and it goes through the company, and then at the end in shipping, they've got basically a big shipping container graphic, picture kind of cartoon of a shipping container. So every time a toy gets shipped, it goes onto the shipping container. So it's like a celebration for the business. And if it doesn't get shipped, what they were doing was that they were putting it in the sea. That didn't go down well. So people got quite upset about that. So they had to build a dock. So then if a toy doesn't get shipped that year, actually quite often it will get shipped the following season, or it will get revamped to do. So actually they built the dock because it really upset people to see their products going to the sea. It's like, that's my product I've worked so hard on. So it gave them really good feedback. The other one that happened was that we had one team that I went back in a month later and they had their board, and their waiting box was kind of, that was full, and then it came down here, across here and up here. And it was like, we need a bigger waiting box. And I was like, do you? Whereas actually what the problem was their process. Part of their process was taking 6 weeks and they were only allowing 2. So it was just causing this massive backlog. And actually by changing their process allowed them to change, to have a more, the same size waiting box. They didn't need a bigger box, they needed to change the way they worked in order to work more effectively. And it's kind of just really nice to see how these businesses have adapted these ideas. So you give them the kind of building blocks and the template, and they take that away and they adapt it for their own businesses and what works for them, which is really, really powerful and really empowering for the team. Because especially with like the toy company, because what you can do is you can see, like, I mean, if you're like me, my clients and my projects are quite, they're close to my heart, and it's actually nice to see what's coming and it's nice to see what's happened to those afterwards when you hand them over. So actually having those kind of journeys and pipelines through the business can be really, really powerful in just getting the whole team working much more together. This is another company which is a dog bite film company. They're a film production company, and they're a group of freelancers basically, some doing video, audio production, artwork, editing, all sorts of different things, and they're all individual freelancers, but they collaborate to form Dog Bite. And they were kind of in chaos, really. They were just having real problems with trying to get everybody in the same place at the same time and being able to share information. So what we did is we kind of adapted the roadmap, and it was kind of like a bit of a roadmap come pipeline come dashboard, really. It kind of really took on its own thing. They actually as well, one of the things I've got to mention earlier, was they created an actual ideas cloud. So they made a cloud out of coat hangers and things so that they can hang ideas on, and so that they can pick ideas from the business. But this board was just really powerful because every time one of the guys came into the office, they'd update the board. So the board represented this kind of almost real-time picture of where everything was. So it meant that although getting them together was obviously still important from a team perspective, it wasn't essential for them to share information. And they also had their own kind of personal boards that they were able to then take stuff away and work on. So again, it's that kind of idea that actually, you know, Agile is Agile. I kind of say Agile by name, Agile by nature, in that it should evolve and adapt to your business, and it should change to suit your business and help you to show what's going really well, what you can do better, and build on that. Another kind of concept, so anybody not familiar with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? So 20% of the effort you put in creates 80% of the value, which is uncannily true in so many situations. And this kind of concept, again, if I was going to kind of build on the manifesto, I'd say about being agile over being perfect. So we put our agility before the ideal to achieve perfection. And this kind of leads into the concept of minimum viable product. So we've got this idea that actually, you know, we can say, so if we're building something, we've got a certain amount of resource, time, people, materials, whatever it might be. We've got actions, we've got features of that product or service that we want to develop and deliver. And that will create value for us. And the idea with the minimum viable product, as I perceive it, and I must say this is all my kind of interpretation and translation of Agile, is actually we want to find the 20% of resources that we can use to create the 20% of the features or the actions that we want to achieve to get as much value as possible, to get that 80% value. And then that's our kind of first step that we can then build on and improve and take further. So this is an example of Sophie again from the Crown and Glory. This is an example of one of her minimum viable products. So it's a very short little social media clip. And she, so last summer, she's really active on social media. And last summer she got a tweet from one of her customers saying, oh my God, I love your product so much. I wish I could just pay you £20 a month and you send me goodies. And she was like, I can do that. So she did it. So she found a box and she put some stuff in it and she set up a direct debit through PayPal and she started doing her glitterati box. And so she started that kind of late July. By September, when I presented it at Agile on the Beach, she had over 50 subscribers. And that just started from one tweet and her putting it together. And actually it was really powerful because what we were talking about at the time within the business was the fact that one, she needed to work out how to scale. Two, she needed to work out how to reduce her waste because she was getting kind of waste materials, so she'd make a load of a product and she'd have a few roses left over. So what she was doing was with the boxes, she'd put standard products in, but also she'd make one-of-a-kind products out of her waste materials to put in. And she'd also make test products, so ideas for future designs to put into the box. so that she could get feedback on potential new products and what people liked and what people didn't like as such. And she's formed a whole community around that. So she's got like a Facebook community where you can go on and you can swap and you can share and you can feedback. And it's been really powerful because she's limited it at 150 subscribers. So she's got 150 people subscribed. If somebody drops out, there's a space, and that space is taken up in moments. People are ready and waiting to take that space. But she worked out it wasn't viable for her to scale that any further. It was just becoming a nightmare. But what it really did help her with as well, because she was having, so if you think she's got 3 clips on a bit of card, 150 people, she's got to produce 450 clips each month to go on that. So it was a brilliant way of helping her scale up. So when House of Fraser contacted her a few months ago and said, will you supply us? She knew she was capable of producing the volume that they wanted, which was about in line with her glitterati. So it was brilliant because it had been that learning and that test-driven development, and it evolved into a great product which actually has helped her to evolve her business further again. So it's one of my kind of favourite examples, and she's very naturally agile as well. She's just that kind of person that, and one of the things that people often say to me is, this is great, this is how I like to work, but I've never been able to put a name on it. You know, this is how I'd really like to work. But, and literally I had one guy who was like a doctor up in Wales who went, oh my God, I've been trying to get the guys to work in this way. Now I can actually show them it and provide physical evidence that it's a methodology. They'll take it on board, whereas otherwise it's just one of my harebrained ideas. So it actually kind of gave him the structure and the tool set to be able to prove and kind of validate it to his older directors in the medical world that were kind of, no, it's going to take 20 years and that's that. You know, and he just wanted to move a bit faster. So, one of the problems that we get in Cornwall a little bit is that businesses grow and they kind of run out of room to grow. They kind of get to that point where they're just so busy running the business that they don't have the slack to grow. And so I think this is a really important balance, because you've got to balance that kind of ability to change with the ability to actually continue to run and sustain the business as well. So you've got to sustain it and you've got to grow it. Tricky balance. And a nice example of this was a team that I've worked with who are a mining searches company down in Cornwall. And they've got a small kind of dev tech team, not particularly software developers. They've all got a slightly different role, but they are a tech team within the business. And they were just running at capacity, and what was happening was the MD was coming in and literally doing that. I've had a great idea, stop everything, start this project. 3 days later, I've had a great idea, stop everything, start this project. So they had loads of projects they'd started and none finishing, and were quite just, I wouldn't say they were an unhappy team, but they weren't happy, in my view. They were at capacity, they were under pressure, and they were struggling, you know, and they needed a solution. So we set up, and some people might get quite upset about the fact that there's swim lanes on this board, but actually the guys did different jobs, and what it was about was getting these guys to work together as a team. So getting all their work on one, and this has kind of merged a bit since, which is really cool. And I love this phase because they're all smiling and laughing in particular. But this was just really nice how they, you know, we helped them to identify the key projects that will allow them to become more efficient, which would allow them to have more slack. So the idea was start on projects, get that efficiency, which would then create, so we kind of aim for an 80-20, so 80% running, doing the day job, 20% changing, growing projects. And we've reached that now, we've got to that point, which is fantastic. And actually this kind of went viral as well around the business. So the geology team went, we want a board, and then the admin team went, we want a board, and finance went, we'll have a board. And the MD was like, yeah, and we need a roadmap to link all this together, which was lovely to see that happen. So there's a couple of things I want to show you from just a recent workshops that we did. Is anybody familiar with innovation games? Yeah, a couple. So they're basically games that you play as a team to help you to kind of innovate and reflect and learn and build and all the different things, and really about working together as a team. There's a game called Speedboat, which I've kind of adapted because we're kind of more sailors in Cornwall than we are speedboat enthusiasts. But so the idea behind the game is that the team, so we took the project of doing a retrospective of the time, the past year, basically. We said, let's do a retrospective. What are the things that have helped you go faster? And what are the anchors that are holding you back? And then the kind of middle ground is the kind of thing that actually kind of, has a bit of an impact, but they're kind of more middle ground, kind of not that much impact. And then these are the actions. And it's just a really fun exercise to do with people, because it was a great opportunity to celebrate success of how much, the GIS work they've done 5 times faster, CRM 5 times, search checkup +9. One of the lovely ones actually was they got an intern in, and he said he put intern doing odd jobs on here, and you put them up first, and then you decide whether they're sales or anchors and whether they're a +10 or a -10. So are they +10, do they put wind in your sails? Are they -10, do they slow you down and hold you back? So you put that up, and you could see the nerves on his face, and he was kind of like, intern doing odd jobs, how much use is that? The team gave him a +9 and wrote, doing odd crucial jobs. Let's not play down, and that's what they were saying to him, let's not play down the value that you've added to this teammate. You're brilliant. And you just saw him go away with like this, wow, the team appreciates you, how nice is that? And he didn't know. He just thought he was that annoying intern that kept asking questions and kept interrupting things, whereas actually he was adding huge value. And the magic, I think, with Agile is when things like this happen, which is when I went back in to see them a couple of weeks later, they were like, come and see our new ship. And they've been talking about a new market, and they've been talking about breaking into a new market as a team. So they basically do mining searches. So if you want to buy a house or build a house in Cornwall, there's a lot of mining. And so you have to have mining searches, and the same is true in other areas of the country. And so they wanted to break into the West, or they want to break into, I think it's West Midlands or the Midlands, up north somewhere, sorry. So this ship represents that project, and this is the ideas that they think that these are the things that are going to make them go faster and get to that goal more quickly, and these are the things that they think are going to hold them back. So from this, they could start looking at the project activities that go on to their board to help them to go forward in that. But the kind of thing with that slide is, I just like it when a business takes something that you've given them and they go, oh, we could use it for this too. That's when I think it's really worked, and you know that they've got it, because they've taken it and used it in a different way without you having to lead them and show them that. So the last kind of story I wanted to tell you was about the book, because we kind of took an Agile approach with the book as well. Traditionally, when Eloise and I kind of started talking, it became quite clear that publishing a book was traditionally kind of a bit like the old way we used to write software, that you'd kind of work for ages on a proposal, it would kind of get torn apart by the committee, you'd rework it, and then eventually you get it through, and then you agree that, and then you go off for 6 months, lock yourself in a cupboard, write your book, and then you kind of present it, and then it would kind of, we need to change all this and rework it, and you go away, rework it in like a month, and then come back, and I was like, oh God. And Eloise had been really great in that she was like, this Agile sounds great, and I was like, well, can we take an Agile approach? Absolutely. So that's exactly what we did. Rather than kind of me going off with just kind of a document to fill out, what was great was that I could send her my work in progress. Every couple of weeks I'd send her my work in progress, she'd feedback, she'd give me comments, she'd give me constructive advice and say, this is good, this, you could rework this is a structure, this is a tone, de-Cornished me. So yeah, literally had to.